Hey guys, this week we're going to be showing you how to change out a three-way switch. Stick around. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of BS with AJ. As I said before, we're going to be changing out a three-way switch today. So if you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel yet, make sure and do so because we do projects like this all the time. If you're new to electricity or anything like that, I do definitely go into details with everything to make sure that pretty much anybody can understand it. I do that on purpose because I've seen so many videos where people don't explain things very well, and I don't want to be one of those guys, of course. Just so you know, down in the description below, there will be a list of all the tools and materials, and there'll be links to where you can purchase those. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so these are the tools you're going to need for this week's project. A flathead screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, wire strippers, a voltage detector, some type of either shop light or a headlamp so you can see because you're going to have to turn the power off. I am going to be using an impact with a Phillips bit chuck in it just to make things go a little faster. And of course you're going to be needing your three-way switch. So let's get started. Alright, so here's our switch we're going to be switching out. As you can see, there's three different ones in here. We want to first go to our breaker box and turn off the power, and you want to double check it, turn it on and off, and check and make sure there's no power going to whatever light you're changing out. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab our flathead screwdriver, and we're going to take out all these screws here. Alright, now the next thing you're going to want to do before you touch anything after you have this cover off is to take your voltage detector, turn it on, and make sure there's no power going to not only the switch that you're about to change, but to any of the other wires. Sometimes in older houses like mine, they have more than one power source coming into boxes, and I've ran into that more than once in this house, so it's always a good idea to check first. Alright, now that we know there's nothing there, we can go ahead and take out the switch that we're wanting to change here. So we'll take our Phillips or our flathead bit because this is an old house and that's what they use then. Take these screws out. Alright, now all we got to do is make sure that you see where each one of these wires go. Alright, now you can see on this switch here, there's a white wire on the left hand side of the top, there's a red wire on the right hand side of the top, and there's a black wire on the bottom right hand side. There is no ground because this house was pretty old and they didn't use ground wires back then. So what we're going to do to remedy this problem for now is we're going to take a ground wire and run it from the switch, and we're going to attach it to the screw right back here in the very back. So that way it at least grounds it to the box because that'll be better than nothing. Alright, so on this switch here, when you put it to the top, it actually will say at the top, or at least this particular brand does. You will see that there's the black wire that goes up at the top, and then these two are switched. So basically these are on the bottom and this is on the top. So we're just going to put them in the same order. The red on the right hand side and the white on the left hand side. We'll just move those down to the bottom, and we'll take our black wire and move it up to the top right hand side, and then of course we'll put our ground on first. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, as you can see on these old styles, they have the little loop that goes around them here that held it onto the screw. Well, most new styles nowadays, they have it set up to where you can take the screw here they come loose. You know, whenever you get them out of the package, they're already loose. And then you push it in all the way, and you take the flat part, so you'll either cut that off or straighten it out, whichever you prefer. And then you'll stick it straight into here, and then you'll tighten this up, and it'll actually make it a lot quicker and easier to connect these wires. So what we're going to do is we're going to straighten these out. So that way we can use that on those. You can cut these off if you prefer, if you don't want to take the time and try and straighten them out, or if your wires are just brittle or too short anyway. I think that one's a little bit too long. Alright, so we're going to take our black and put on the top. Our red's still going to go on the right hand side. It's on the bottom. And our white's going to go on the right hand side on the bottom. Alright, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wire up our ground wire. So what I've done is I've taken an old piece of wire I've got here, and I made a little loop on it. So now what we're going to do is loosen this screw up. I'm going to go ahead and slip it over that screw. I'm going to try to do it. Alright, we've got it looped around that screw now. So we're going to take our wire strippers and use the needle nose part of them to kind of crimp that into place so it doesn't come off our screw. And then we're going to tighten it back down. Alright. Now this wire here is a lot longer than the rest of them, so you can trim that back pretty close to where they are. Alright, now we're going to start by putting our ground wire on first. We are going to put a loop on this one to make sure that it's on there good. Also, the ground is set up slightly different on these, so where you can put the loop on it if you want. It's not a requirement or anything, but we're going to this time. Alright, now we made our loop just like we did on the inside here. We looped it around our screw and then we tightened it up with our wire strippers with the needle nose point on them here. And then we're going to go ahead and screw this down tight. Alright, now it is grounded to at least the box here, which is, like I said before, better than nothing. Alright, now that goes on the bottom. So let's get our wires where we want them here. We'll put our black up at the top on the right hand side. Our red's going to be on the right hand side on the bottom. And our white's going to be on the left hand side on the bottom. Alright, now we're going to trim this one off just a little bit. It's just a little bit too long. Same with this one here. Now as you can see, here's what I was talking about. Their screw, it comes loose like it is here. And then when I push up, you see that little metal piece on the inside moving? Alright, so when we go to put our wire in, we're going to push this up all the way and slide our wire into one of these two slots here. And then we'll tighten it down. And this metal piece on the inside will tighten it down to the outside metal piece. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start putting our wires into place. Our white wire is going to go on the left hand side of the bottom. So we'll push our screw in, and we'll push our wire in as far as it'll go, and we'll tighten it down. You want to make sure it's good and snug. You can over tighten them, so be careful, you know. You want to make sure it's just good and snug. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and put our red wire in. It goes on the right hand side on the bottom. Do the same thing. Push your screw in, push your wire in, and then tighten it up. Alright. Alright, so now we'll do the same thing to the black wire. It goes on the top on the right hand side. So we'll do the same thing. We'll push our screw in, push our wire into place, hold it there, and tighten it up. Alright, now all the wiring is done. So what we're going to do now is push all these wires back. We're going to start them these two screws on the top and on the bottom here that hold our plug into place. We're going to start them by hand. Alright, and then we're going to take our impact, because it takes a lot longer to do it by hand. And we're going to kind of tighten it up real quick. Alright, now when you have a switch box like this one here and you have multiple plugs here in it, you got to kind of be careful when you go to put this on here, whenever you're switching out your switches here. Because right up here and down here are where the screws are going to go to hold this on. So when we put it on, you want to make sure that those screws line up with all the rest of them here. It may take a few tries, but once you get it on there, it'll all line up good and it'll still look good on your wall. Alright, when you're done changing out your three-way switch, you want to go back to your breaker box and turn the power back on to this switch and then test it to make sure the light's working properly. And that's all there is to it. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll know when I post new videos each week. Consider supporting BS with AJ on Patreon so we can do bigger and better projects for you guys. And if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down in the comment section below and I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge. See you next week.